plan with her. I would. I'd like to make a motion to open the February 20th, 2020 Town Board as Police Commission meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To make a motion to approve the Town Board as Police Commission agenda.
Second.
And I have no announcements. I'd like to make a motion to go into
I said all in favor, aye.
all in favor, aye. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to conduct interviews and discuss personnel matters. And I'd like to invite Tony Hokinson to join us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right back.
Let's do it.
I make a motion to come out of executive session,
Second?
and do you want to vote to appoint Tony or wait?
I'm happy to, if we want to do that, maybe just not set the term.
Yeah.
So I guess let's vote to end executive session, right? So all those in favor?
All right.
And then do you want to nominate her?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Tony Hokinson to serve on the Town Board as Police Commission.
Second?
No, wait, sorry,
The-
not that, I misspoke. To serve on the,
Advisory committee?
yeah,
Yeah, community advisory.
the Citizens Police Advisory Board.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Shoo. And with that, I'd like to open the floor for public input. If anyone has any comments. If not, let's, do you want to do the monthly report, or should we make some recommendations? Motion to recommend the following hires, transfers, promotions to the town board?
If you want, we'll do the report really quick.
Yeah, okay.
Seeing that they have to stay for the town board meeting anyway, and I know we're waiting for one officer to get here.
Okay.
I was working a shift, actually, that we're gonna be looking to put on for one of the full-time slots. So, and then we will need a short moment of executive session just to do some updates on some personnel issues.
Okay. So, over to you for the monthly report.
Okay, so so there's no letters of commendation for this month, and we have 2 defensive actions for the month of January. The first defensive action has 2 reports filed. It has to do with 2 individuals for the 2 reports, but it's the one incident, which was a fight. First subject, 21-year-old male, 5'11", 190 pounds, medium build, white, non-Hispanic, disorderly conduct. The other individual, 22 years of age, male, 5'11", 170 pounds, medium build, white, non-Hispanic. Again, disorderly conduct. Both were apparently under the influence of alcohol at the time. Both individuals were engaged in a physical altercation in front of one of the establishments on Main Street. The officers that handled the call, each of them announced their presence, told them to stop fighting, which they continued to still fight. Each officer grabbed their individual defendant at the time and put them in a bear hug and took them to the ground where they were placed into custody. Neither was injured during that arrest. No further action. The second defensive action has to do with one individual, and 2 reports were filed. 38 years of age, male, 5'10", 230 pounds, large build, white, non-Hispanic. Charges were disorderly conduct, harassment, and resisting arrest. Also suspected to be alcohol, under the influence of alcohol. The individual was also involved in an altercation, was told to leave the establishment that he was at, continued to be in a violent manner, continued to ignore warnings of leaving or being charged. Officers that attempted to approach the person advised him he was under arrest for disorderly conduct, at which time he began to walk away and then took a fighting stance with the officers. When the officers went to approach him, he then took off and they ended up tackling him on the ground. He still refused to listen to verbal commands, put his hands behind his back, continued to fight with the officers, and yell different racial slurs at the officer. They were eventually able to gain control of the individual, handcuff him, nothing further. At the time, he complained of back pain. He was checked out by the New Paltz Rescue, was called, but he refused any medical treatment. He refused treatment at the station again, and also refused to have any photographs or anything taken by the sergeant, which we do. That's custom anytime somebody indicates that they have some injury. And that's all we have for those reports. We still missing one officer here?
Why don't we go into executive session?
Executive session,
I'd
great.
like to-
Can we also invite Lieutenant Lucchese?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters
Second?
and invite Chief Snyder and Lieutenant Lucchese. All in favor?
Aye.
taken.
Second.
And we have a few minutes. Are all the officers here?
Yes, they are.
I mean, so I guess would like to make a motion to recommend the following hires, transfers, and promotions to the town board. Approval to hire part-time officer David Dugatkin. Approval for the promotion of Officer Brianne Quigley from patrol officer to patrol sergeant. Approval to promote Officers Zachary Mitchell and Jerome Milton to full-time status. Approval for transfer of Patrol Sergeant Matthew Sutton to the Detective Division as Detective Sergeant.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I think with that, we're probably done.
Yeah, we can start the town board meeting.
So we can
as soon
start
as
the
you
town
want.
board meeting as soon as you let me know when all the officers are here.
Everybody's here, everybody's ready on our.
So we can start the town board meeting early, and we can do all of that right now.
That'd be great.
That's great. Let's do it.
So I'd like to make a motion to close the Town Board as Police Commission meeting,
Second.
and I would like to make a motion to open the February 20th, 2020 Town Board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with some, and I'd like to make some changes as well.
Second.
And I would like to move up the recommendations to the town board from the police commission before public comment, public input, so we can get them out of here and they don't have to sit here and listen to us get yelled at. So, and if
You want me to start?
everyone's in favor of, yeah, sorry, if everyone's in favor of that? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, so now we can start, sorry.
Okay, what I'd like to do is, we have some openings for our full-time status, so I'd like to start with that. We have 2 openings in our patrol officer. I made a recommendation to the commission to take 2 of our part-time officers, to move them into a full-time position. They are on our local list, so I'm happy to offer them to the board for approval to be hired. Officer Zach Mitchell, come on up, and Officer Jerome Milton. So Zach Mitchell, you may recognize both of these gentlemen. Zach's been with us about 2 years and has been part-time status with us. He's done a fantastic job. Been part of the NPPD family, and I'd like to make a recommendation for him to begin his full-time status on the 21st, which is actually tomorrow, filling in a vacant shift. So we'd like to have him begin that process. Then we have Jerome Milton. Jerome has been with us about 6 months now. Got that about right? A little more?
A little more.
Okay. I blink and another year goes by. So he's been with us. He's doing a fantastic job. We brought him on part-time. Grew up in our community. He's been a great asset to us. And again, part of our family. And we'd like him to also begin a full-time status with us. And his date would be effective February 24th, which is Monday, 2020.
Great. Well, yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the promotion of Officers Zachary Mitchell and Jerome Milton to full-time status.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You guys know what you're getting into, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Hi.
Then we can have Matt Sutton come up.
Yes. Yes.
So Sergeant Matt Sutton, he's been our night supervisor for 5 years. Was promoted in 2014. Before that, he was in our detective division for about 2 years. He started with our agency in 2008. Been a phenomenal asset to our agency when he was a detective and obviously as our night supervisor. We'll miss him on the nights, but I'm sure there'll be, his shoes will be filled with another one coming in. He's taking care of that training now, but we'd like to make a offer to the town to move him to the detective division as our detective sergeant to oversee that division.
So I'd like to make a motion to transfer Patrol Sergeant Matthew Sutton to Detective Division as Detective Sergeant.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I know Dave Diakin is not here tonight, but that's offering that to the town for the part-time position.
Yep.
He's going to be a big asset he was an asset to our agency when he worked with us in the past. He's going to be taking care of a lot of our discovery demands with the new justice reform laws. So we're looking forward to having him come on board. So we're all set to move forward with that if you want to do that, even though he's not here.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hire of part-time officer David Dugatkin.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and last but not least, Brianne Quigley, come on up. So this is Brianne Quigley. She's been an officer with us since 2012. Don't need to say much about her because everybody knows about her. They see her face out there in the streets. She's been a phenomenal asset for our agency since she's been hired. We were happy to do incredible interviews. We had 4 candidates, so it was a very difficult decision because we have very good qualified people. We're very fortunate. Brianne actually did a fantastic job during the interview, as well as being on the sergeant's list. So with many pieces of input from our supervisors that presently work for the agency during the interview, we'd like to recommend Brianne Quigley to be a police sergeant for our department.
Great. Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to promote Officer Brianne Quigley from patrol officer to patrol sergeant.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. So I do have one thing, seeing that usually we do swearing in at these, don't go away yet. Usually we do swearing in at the town board meetings also. We're unable to do that, seeing that our clerk is out here tonight. So they all will be going in to get sworn in either tomorrow or Monday. But in the meantime, I wanted to present her with her sergeant's shield. And you'll get your ID and everything after you begin that on Monday, but congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So you get everything else soon. And these are just those documents for that, for both hires. That's the officers, this is the sergeants.
Okay.
And then I'll touch base with Gene and Arlen this week for the forms that we fill.
Great, well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all you had for me, right?
Yeah, I think that's it, and, so it's 7 o'clock, I guess we will open the,
Public input.
yeah, well,
Very
so,
much. Thank you guys all.
so
Congratulations.
I think we're gonna start with, we're gonna open the public, or continue the public hearing for the critical environmental areas, and so we have, we'll let people, we'll take a break for a few minutes and let people walk out. So we're going to open or continue the public hearing for the critical environmental areas. And so if anyone has any comments they'd like to make, please come up. We're not going to close it tonight, we're just going to keep it open. So if people come up, they want to say something. If not, we're just going to leave it open for a while. And I think you might be on the agenda as well, Ingrid. If not, then you're welcome to come up and talk now or later, right? So, yeah, I think maybe, Ingrid, you might want to you could come up now and talk as part of the public comment. And you're welcome to sit at the table if that's easier for you, or stand there, or whatever you would prefer.
What's easier?
That's whatever's easiest.
Come take a seat. Why don't you do that? There you go.
Huh? No, that's okay. Hi. How are you? Good.
Is the mic okay? Good.
All right. Well, good evening, members of the town board. I'm Ingrid Heckel, chair of the New Paltz Environmental Conservation Board, and I'm a resident of Plutarch Road. I trained as a biologist and geographer, and I've worked for the last 9 years in the field of conservation and environmental planning in the Hudson Valley. New Paltz is endowed with some exceptional and unique environmental features, including globally significant forests and regional wildlife corridors, high-quality wetland complexes, and habitats for threatened and endangered wildlife. We're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis and a climate crisis, as you've recognized, that threatens the life as we know it. The land use decisions we make today will have lasting impacts on natural areas in New Paltz and the numerous benefits they provide our community. At the last public hearing, I presented this proposal for establishing 6 critical environmental areas, which is a designation under SEEKR that allows the town to recognize areas with exceptional or unique environmental characteristics. And we heard some very supportive comments on that proposal at the last meeting, as well as some concerns since then about how this designation might affect private property rights. We encourage everyone to go and read the CEA proposal, which is not very long, or the FAQ document, which are both on the town website on the environmental conservation page. You'll see that the CEA designation does not affect construction of a single-family home, additions, minor accessory structures like garages or swimming pools, among other things. In short, it doesn't affect the vast majority of property owners and the typical activities they might undertake on their land. For those who might want to subdivide or do some other type of project already subject to environmental review, the planning board would need to consider on a larger scope how the project might impact a CEA. And the bottom line is CEAs do not protect land or prevent development. They do not take away any rights of property owners. They simply require consideration of potential impacts as part of a broader environmental review. Now, we've heard the concern that this may nonetheless create a burden of proof for applicants because the planning board won't know how to judge possible impacts of a CEA. But the planning board has access to a lot of existing information and maps and guidance that can be used to assess projects in these areas. In addition, New Paltz just received a grant to compile a townwide natural resources inventory that will be published as easily accessible online maps. You'll be able to zoom in to a parcel and turn on the different map layers to see what is already known in that area. And that, together with the scope of any proposed new development, could be used to determine whether additional information is needed or not. And for small actions, most small actions, we believe, the likely result will be that no further study is needed. Larger projects, which already require a SEEKR assessment, could include relevant habitat information tailored on the specific features and areas of concern in that CEA. Now, hypotheticals are hard to judge, so we did some research to find out how CEA designation is actually impacting or has impacted project review in 2 nearby towns, Hyde Park and Shawangum, which have had CEAs for about 15 and 30 years respectively. Neither of the planning board chairs I spoke to from those communities said that CEA designation had been the basis for a positive SEEKR declaration, nor that it had resulted in a burdensome review process. Rather, they said the CEA designation resulted in a deliberate focus on the particular resources of concern in that area that might be impacted, and together with other considerations like protected species habitat, wetlands, or steep slopes, helped guide developments to reduce impacts. Back to our proposal, we've heard the argument that New Paltz's SECRA process is already rigorous enough, and that our local laws regulating wetlands and watercourses, floodplains, and steep slopes provide enough regulation in the town. Our local laws are robust, but they are currently applied parcel by parcel, project by project, without requiring consideration of the broader ecological context. Without CEA designation, there's no specific requirement or opportunity to consider the bigger picture during environmental reviews. And of course, we all know that wildlife do not limit their habitat to 100-foot buffers generally and things like of that nature. So our current regulations do not affect many of the types of features and issues we're talking about in this proposal. We have heard concerns that CEAs will somehow stifle commercial growth and impact the tax base. However, the only proposed CEA that overlaps a business or industrial zone is the Swartikill Wetlands area along Route 299 near Ohioville Road. We delineated that CEA to include a 300-foot buffer zone around the wetlands, and within the business and industrial zones, however, the buffer area has already been, for the most part, developed, with the exception of 7 acres owned by Central Hudson and a ½ acre of land on North Ohioville Road. Note that the remaining CEAs are in residential zones, 70% occurring in the A3 zone, and based on this, and recalling that CEA designation doesn't prevent or restrict development, we contend CEA designation will have no measurable impact on potential commercial or industrial development in the town, and by that measure on the resulting tax base. And by another measure, a lot of people are drawn to New Paltz for our beautiful landscapes. A lot of the tourism activity that generates is because of these CEAs. We furthermore note that the highest concentration of CEAs in New York are in the most developed areas of the state, Westchester and Long Island. These continue to be the fastest growing areas of the state, and there's no evidence that CEAs are slowing things down. Rather, that the CEA designation is more likely to occur in communities that have already experienced some undesirable environmental impacts from development. Wouldn't it be better for New Paltz to plan proactively for the future of our greatest natural assets? Which brings me to the areas we have proposed. We've heard concerns that the proposed areas are too large. The CEAs are large because the natural areas themselves are large, which is part of why they're so exceptional. On this question, I reached out to John Nolan, professor of law and founder of Pace Land Use Law Center. He pointed out there's nothing in the SECRA regulations saying that CEAs should be small. In fact, he said the types of criteria in the regulations for CEA designation would tend to suggest that CEAs should be large. Lastly, and perhaps of greatest concern to the ENCB, we've heard the argument that, with the exception perhaps of the Ridge, the other proposed areas are neither that unique nor exceptional, and thus should not be designated CEAs. This is important because if we are unmoved by information explaining and justifying the significance of these areas coming from New York State DEC, the New York Natural Heritage Program, the Nature Conservancy, Ulster County, our own open space plan, then we risk continuing to overlook their importance as new development is proposed in them. ENCB can continue to bring up this information, which we have in the past, but without an official town designation, it may have little impact. So as I conclude, I want to stress why the timing for CEAs is right. We don't have any major projects in any of these areas right now that would be affected, but that could change any day. We should anticipate that development can and will eventually happen on any parcel of land that is not protected in our town. CEAs do not protect land, but will provide a minimum measure of oversight to ensure that New Paltz's exceptional habitats and resilient connected lands do not experience death by 1,000 cuts. The ENCB appreciates the town board's consideration of this proposal, and we're here to support you with moving it forward, and we want to thank you for your commitment to making New Paltz a wonderful place to live and helping protect our environment. So in addition, I've provided tables that have the acreage of land by zoning district within the CEAs and acreage of land protected already in nature preserves or under conservation easement in the districts. And based on a comment at the last public hearing, I put together a map showing areas, the proposed areas in relation to existing mapped wetlands and the regulatory buffers approximately under our town law and FEMA floodplain information, and existing protected land, parks and preserves in the community. Thank you.
Nice. Can I keep this?
Thank you. Yes, you can keep that.
Nice. Thank you.
And I'll leave these for other members. Yeah.
They're not here, so we'll just give it to them and put them in there.
Thank you.
If anyone else has any comments about the CEAs, please.
Just go in order of Janelle. Janelle, sorry. I'm Janelle Piotr, resident of Town of New Paltz. I'm actually here though on behalf of Laura Dene. She has asked me to read her letter as she was not able to be here tonight. Dear Town Board, my name is Laura Dene, a filmmaker from New Paltz, who was also on the ENCB for 5 years. I'm writing you with my enthusiastic support for our town creating its own critical environmental areas. Our natural environment is so important to us, our wildlife, and the character of our town, and this is one wonderful step we can take to protect it. Currently, I'm working on a film about this very subject. Well, we're seeing a town near Ellenville created 2 CEAs, one a large swamp and one a farm that serves as a quote greenway unquote to allow animals to get from one forest to the other. The town of Wawarsing is bipartisan, and yet they unanimously decided to pass this. The people we interviewed said they did this because they understand quote what we have unquote. They said that the natural world is not only important for our environment, but also for the economic benefits it brings to their town in terms of tourists and second homeowners. And they told me once you know the area you want to designate, it is not a difficult process. This, of course, will not stop development in these areas. It will just add another extra layer that a developer would need to look at while they are planning within these CEAs. Developing critical environmental areas is also one action we can take to move forward with our Climate Smart Community Pledge. I'd love to speak with any of you if you would like to reach out and further discuss, or even recommend you reach out to Wawarsing with questions. Thank you so much for your hard work in making our town a wonderful place to live. All the best, Laura Dene.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Libby Zamaitis. I'm going to speak as a resident and then I guess as a professional. I'm born and raised in the town of New Paltz. I'm a property owner. My sons are 5th generation New Paltzians. And let's be honest, being a green city, being a green town is only going to spur development. I've seen it across the Hudson Valley where I work. I don't know that that's a good thing from a natural resource standpoint, but doing things like adopting CEAs and being really aggressive is only going to help us grow and help us get tourism and help us get people here. You know, we're seeing it in Kingston, we're seeing it in Piermont, we're seeing it up and down the valley. We've already positioned ourselves as leaders in this area, and we just need to keep upping the ante. This is a very clear-cut, simple thing to do. It should be done everywhere that there's an important area. It's just, you know, acknowledging a fact. So to me, it's very, you know, it's a strategic thing that we can do. The state has $150 million just last year alone, and it's about the same every year to fund communities that want to work on resilience. So the more that we do these things, the more that we're going to be recognized and rewarded, bring in more money, more investment, and just keep building this green brand in New Paltz. You know, we're starting to see other communities take the lead on that, and I think we need to keep up because we've had a longer history of being that town. So from that standpoint, I support it. I think it makes sense for us as a community and as a development strategy. And then moving on more to my professional hat, I've worked in climate resilience for over 15 years, helping communities up and down the Hudson Valley and helping companies nationally and globally working on sustainable development. And again, this is where the money's flowing. This is where the interest is going. I mean, for us to be worried about something like adopting large CEAs, I don't think it's in our best interest. So I am aware of the DEC and part of the project that is highlighting the town of Wawarsing on their recently adopted critical environmental areas. They are two very, very large areas, and they see them as their actual economic future. They see it as part of ecotourism. They're actually coming at it, in part from that standpoint. So I think it's great we're seeing places like Wawarsing are recognized as leaders for this type of thing. So, let's join along. We're actually pursuing, I believe the town and the village are pursuing climate smart community certification. This is a specific action in it that gets you points. That program has over $10 million of funding every year. Sometimes it's under applied for. So let's just have this be one of many steps that we're pursuing climate resilience, ecological resilience. We're getting state funding, and we're really building like the New Paltz green town where everyone wants to be, everyone wants to live. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I can't see the list, but who is anyone else on there?
Mary-
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I thought
You for
just had
public
sign
comment?
in.
Oh, no,
Taking
that's
notes.
fine. Very good.
Yeah, so if next person sign up, speak for this is the public comment for the CEAs.
Yes, I was made aware that I can make a public comment tonight, and my name's Eric Perlman. I'm a resident of the town of New Paltz. And I wanted to voice my support for CEAs. It makes sense to me that the town and village would designate these valuable areas in advance of people considering development, because our innate natural resources in our community are special and unique. I know people have voiced a concern that these areas are too big, but they represent a resource that is valued for not only the flora and fauna that is disappearing in our climate crisis, but for our enjoyment and our benefit. So I just wanted to make my voice heard that this seems like a very practical and important move for our community. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
And if is anyone else, please come up. If not, we're going to keep this open so people can come every 2 weeks. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. If no one else has any comments, we'll move on to we'll make a motion to leave this open, and we'll open the floor for public comment about any other issues, if anyone would like to make any comments about other issues, water meters. If not,
No issues in the.
if I can't believe it. I'm giddy after 2 weeks ago. So with that, I'll quickly close public comment, and I'd like to make a motion to approve items 3A through 3D on the consent agenda. 3A through E
Yep.
on the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, so Dan, I don't know if you want to talk about this next one. This is authorization, a motion for the supervisor to sign a joint letter with the village regarding refugee resettlement.
So, I know our village colleagues jumped the gun.
They jumped the gun, but
Yeah.
the town board hasn't signed it yet. But,
So I apologize, I was not able to make it last meeting for that and for other things. But just a quick overview, there was a recent executive order by President Trump which requires communities to opt in for even the possibility of accepting refugees within their communities. Just as some background context, We did this already. We had a resolution, and I think it was December of 2016, essentially saying that this was something we were supportive of, and that was something we did proactively on our own. Due to the November election that year, that resettlement never took place. But now there is this executive order in place which makes this a requirement. That's actually being challenged through the court system presently about that not being a necessary requirement. But there was a number of community members who approached me saying that they were interested in this, and I can read the letter quickly,
Yeah.
just for people to hear.
Want this paper?
Even perfect, better on paper. So it says, Dear Secretary Pompeo, this letter is in reference to Executive Order 13888 on enhancing state and local involvement in refugee resettlement. In complying with this request, we feel it's incumbent upon us to educate you on the impact that the 12 refugee families and their descendants have had on their community and the United States. The town of New Paltz was founded in 1678 by French Huguenots. The word refugee entered the English language to describe the very people who established the town that we have inherited. Their early commitment to education over 300 years ago is why we are home to the State University of New York at New Paltz. And in just the last century, a few notable descendants of the original Huguenot refugees include General George Patton, W.E.B. Du Bois, Josiah Du Bois, an attorney for the Treasury Department who drew upon his own heritage as a descendant of the Huguenots when he lobbied the most famous of our New Paltz Huguenot descendants, President Franklin Roosevelt, to allow Jewish refugees into the United States during World War II. This action is estimated to have saved the lives of nearly 200,000 people. The seal of the State Department, along with most federal seals, features the motto of the United States, E pluribus unum, out of many one. Not only do we believe in the sentiment that this phrase has come to represent, but it's also noteworthy that the motto itself originates from a Huguenot. If the restrictions the current administration are imposing today had been in effect when our town was founded, our community and our nation would be at a significant loss. Per the executive order, and in keeping with the centuries-old traditions of our community and the municipal leaders of both the town and village of New Paltz, do hereby consent to the initial resettlement of refugees. So I'd like to move us to formally allow the supervisor to sign that and send that.
Second?
Any other conversation on that? Cool. So all those in favor?
All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Will that letter be like available for us to read at some point?
Yeah, it should be on
Should
the
be on the
town
town's
website
website.
right now as a
Okay.
document.
And-
Yeah.
And labeled as what? Which documents specifically?
So if you go to the town website, we post like where the agenda is, various documents for our meetings, and it should be available there. And if you'd really like a copy, I think we can hand you one before you head out today.
I
So.
could even take a picture.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. No
Thank
problem.
Yeah, we probably have, you might have one in your packet.
Yep. I probably have one too. All right.
So I guess the next is review of highway vehicle replacement plan, and then we have a discussion, if we want to. Chris has asked us, this is, where is this? It's the official form is, what is it? It's what's the, we have to approve this every year for the CHIPS, right? But this is the agreement for the expenditure of highway money. I thought there was a name, the name of it, but, I don't know. 284 form, that's what I'm looking for. So this is the 284 form that the town board approves every year. The highway superintendent submits a list of roads and expenditures for highway money. The town board reviews it and hopefully doesn't micromanage it. Lets the highway department do their job. But it's also a chance to have some input and some comments. And then as part of this, Chris was hoping to buy a truck with, at the end of last year, Chris sold a bucket truck and then asked the town board to buy a new one. Chris was able to get a really good deal on a bucket truck for maybe a third of the price that we thought we were going to get. And I think there's some extra money from that Chris wants to put towards this truck. And then the town board also budgeted some money, I think. Is that right, to buy this truck?
There's an equipment reserve fund.
So we have an equipment reserve fund that we put money in every year. And so I think we're part of that, and it's all lumped. And Chris is asking because part of the CHIPS money will also be used to buy this truck.
No,
Oh,
no chip.
no? Okay. So,
No chip.
Okay, so the CHIPS money is all being used for the roads,
Mhm.
and this is just, you know, if the town board had any discussions. We've also asked in the past that, you know, because we don't have as much experience with the highways as Chris does, it's easier for us to kind of see a bigger picture of, you know, what his plans for replacing vehicles are and, you know, how many we have. And so I asked that be included, and Chris provided it, the town board can read it.
Okay.
And if anyone has any questions, Chris is here.
Mhm.
If not, you know, do you want to talk about the roads that are getting repaved, or
More than repaving, we're sealing.
You're sealing.
Roads that we've done, hope to get 3 or 4 more years out of, which is chip seal.
Right.
It's on state bid, it's good price. We really don't have money anymore to resurface. We will be doing, hopefully old 299 with some money left over from paved New York and, early winter recovery that we weren't able to spend last year.
okay.
Just
I've heard
to get that.
they're both being maybe put back into this year's budget. We're at the Association of Towns this week. Nothing's guaranteed, but
There's advocacy day that the highway superintendents go up and, you know, we ask for more. Hopefully something gets put back in, but we have money left over that was able to be transferred. It just so happens that that price seems to work out good for redoing that. So that's one of them trying to, we left a little more in the residual, you see, it was just under $100,000, because we're gonna have to patch pave a lot of the roads first, and then chip seal them.
So I have a question. When you're doing that to all these different roads, when you're doing the filling and then the seal, the amount of money that's spent on patching all these sections of road year after year after year, does that still stay lower than your redoing it and having it actually survive really well for the next?
decide to okay with Chris's recommendations for full-time temporary workers.
Second.
Two, right?
Yep, 2 seasonal.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Thank you.
Dan, know your rights?
Oh, so I got contacted by an individual yesterday, and the group No Big Leagues with Hudson would like to do a Know Your Rights training relative to interactions with ICE. And so they were looking for a location, and I found out that the community center is available. It's going to be, hold on a second here, Wednesday, July 31st at 7 p.m. here. And so this space is available, and what I'd like to do is if we can, or if I can motion to have this be co-sponsored by the town, it will also allow them to do the event for free. And also I think it's important for us if people are interested in us co-sponsoring that event. So I'd like
Can you
to
say that last part? Do you think it's important?
I think it's important for the town to be willing to co-sponsor such an event. So it's good for the organization. I think it's good for us as well. So I'd like to make a motion to just co-sponsor that event held by Nobody Leaves with Hudson, July 31st.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Dan.
Amanda, come up and talk about our strategies. I'm going to get a drink real quick.
I like the vote.
How do you use it this way? I can set up a projector. I can do that table right there and put it on that screen.
I'm sure we can move and make sure we can. Okay, we can do it here again, please. Just go right here.
Yeah, right on that screen.
You might be better off on the wall than actually the sheet, not too well.
Oh, on the
Spend it on the wall there.
Oh, right here, here.
Just move it down. So I think I'm gonna just see it right now, just take the yellow.
Oh, yeah, I like that thing, though. can't give it away, it's illegal. This is true. It says it. Old lady Margaret. She drove like everyone else. It's always a panicky moment. See? It's like- Not as a- look at this house. You're gonna be speaking. Would you like a chair to sit down? Near you.
So what I'm guessing is gonna have to happen is we might have to turn the light on. Think you can see it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
You need a pen?
No, I'm just trying to remember the date.
Not want to go on there. Okay, now I'm seeing the picture. Is it going? Okay,
Technology hasn't improved in 20 years.
you know, and neither has my AI capabilities.
It's a good thing you're an engineer.
Now I can talk to you on my phone.
But I'm a chemical
All over the
engineer.
world for free, and I can't give a presentation. You know, it's just like, it hasn't, like the software just hasn't gotten better. You would think that there'd be an app that would just connect to them, you know? It's just horrible.
Why is it lagging? It's not showing it's on this screen. Open up. Sorry,
You see, there are things you will understand. and you never understand.
Okay, you should do it.
Maybe it's to see.
There. All right, how's that? Okay, here we go. Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, so Why are we here today? If you recall, the town of New Paltz pledged to be a climate smart community, and these are the 9 elements of that pledge. All of the ones that have stars by them, we're going to hit on today with the topic that we're going to be discussing. So building a climate smart community. We've already inventoried the greenhouse gas emissions that the government operations of the town emit. Now we're going to talk about setting goals and planning for climate action, which includes decreasing energy use, shifting to clean renewable energy, informing and inspiring the public, and engaging in the evolving process of climate action. The other reason we're here is because New York State has made a commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The REV program, which is the Revising Energy Vision, set targets of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 and to have 70% of electricity from renewable sources by 2030. But the recently enacted program, now I forgot what it stood for. It's the strongest one in the nation that just got recently passed by our state, by our governor. It's actually saying 100% of electricity from renewable sources by 2040, and even more reductions of greenhouse gas emissions. So to support that program in New York State, we got to do our part. Sure. Okay, what we saw when we looked at the town-generated greenhouse gas emissions from the inventory is that in 2017, we created 665 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. And that this shows you just where they came from. Electricity was certainly a big part of it, and gasoline is a huge part of it, as is diesel. And then just which of the facilities and uses we're creating them. So you can see again that we saw the temporary town hall has its contribution. Certainly the police building has its contribution, but then also the gasoline from the police and DPW, the diesel from the DPW. These are sources of emissions. So can we reduce greenhouse gas emissions? We certainly can. And I broke it down into a 5-year program, so there's some things that could happen pretty quickly, right away. There's other things that are going to take more time. And I tried to be pretty conservative, so this is a proposal to you guys. You guys told me to go away and come back with a proposal, so this is your proposal, okay?
Could we have it be by 2030?
Well, you could run it out that far, you could, but let's just see how far you could. I think we should, you can decide if you want to spread this out more, or if you want to take these chunks now and look at what would be the next things to do, because we'll certainly revisit this every year to see how we're doing, and what things, and in some cases you may find you've done better than what I projected, in some cases. So,
I just want to make sure that we don't say, well, this is too ambitious, and then we don't do it.
Right.
Right, so we want to make sure that it's doable.
Yep. Well,
And
The
that
promise over deliver.
so let me
Yeah.
show you how those numbers, where they came from. This is a little bit harder to see. But in year 1, you're going to see that big 26% occur if you just switch to 100% renewable energy for your electricity. So we talked about the CCA, and we talked about signing up with an ESCO such as Green Mountain. If you make that one step, you already handle a big chunk of greenhouse gas emissions, even though you don't change your electricity usage. Looking at what you've got with your current existing buildings with going for smart lights and thermostats, perhaps you could achieve a 10% reduction in all of the buildings that we're talking about, which is this building, the existing police building, existing justice court, make some reductions there. The streetlight conversion, this is from NYSERDA. They're saying that when you go from the old streetlights to the LEDs, it's a 30% reduction. I don't know where exactly you are in your program.
We're waiting on Central Hudson.
Okay. I know, I hear that from the village too. that
Yeah,
there's
we're in the
some-
same, we're working, like, we're just waiting to hear back from Central Hudson, then I have to go to the Public Service Commission. The board had, once we hear back from Central Hudson, the board has authorized me to sign it. They're dragging their feet. They don't want this to happen. So we keep sending, every month, we send them like, what's the latest? What's the latest? What's the latest? So, but it'll happen, the board has approved everything, now we're just waiting. So it's gonna happen, we have approval, it'll happen as soon as it can,
Okay.
but probably within the next year.
Okay, well, then it's within the first year, so maybe, I mean, if we say, not calendar year, we say, rolling 12 months, whatever, so we might still find that it happens. If not, it's something that we can revisit to say, we can admit. You had an old town hall account that showed some electricity usage that's expired. That will no longer show up on your, as your electricity spend, because the building doesn't exist anymore. I'm not sure why it had a charge on it in 2017, but it did. And then this is something kind of new, is to talk about electric vehicle procurement policy, to see if there are places where you might, and this would involve doing a vehicle, a fleet survey to see if there are places where it might be appropriate to consider a hybrid or full electric.
Well, I don't know, buying a police car.
You are.
Yeah.
Woo! That's great. I'm so excited. That's totally cool.
Hybrid or full electric?
I had full.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so this is going to be
This year.
This year. All right. Congratulations on that.
We can thank Jen.
Absolutely.
Jen got us the money from
She did.
the state for SUNY impact aid.
Oh, okay.
And so we're using,
Some of that.
the chief needed to replace a car. And he, I think after talking to you, thank you too, I think we sent him a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
about it, and they looked into it, and we're gonna try an electric vehicle this year.
That's great. That's great. He was very interested in, I know when we spoke to him, and it's obviously.
Ford makes a specific electric police vehicles. And they like, the reason they have such a disproportionate impact on emissions is because the police have to be able to, they leave their cars running a lot of times because they need to be able to take right off, not just start up and take off. And so a lot of times they're idling. And so they just don't need to idle. They can just hit the accelerator and go.
Yeah.
So it's electric. And the police like them, they really excel it. And so we're gonna try it out. They're changing. The chief was also telling me that the traditional vehicles are changing their maintenance warranties, that now they want to count the idling hours towards the maintenance requirements.
Because the motor's running.
Because the motor's running. So they try to avoid the warranty if you don't change the oil after a certain number of idling hours, but there's no way to even know how long it's been idling. So they're kind of tricky.
Wow.
10 hours for 3 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay, well, that's really exciting. Yeah, great, terrific. So then in year 2, the idea was you might be considering, that procurement policy for maybe additional vehicle. I was being conservative, one other one that may or may not fit somewhere in your whole fleet. So that would be something to think about. Increased fleet fuel efficiency, certainly when you're replacing your older vehicles, especially the ones that are using diesel, with more efficient vehicles, with using less fuel and also better on emissions. So there's one opportunity there. An idling policy in the town that would have be not only the town's vehicles, but also considering it ultimately for the community. Yeah. So we're actually looking at. I believe there was one in Westchester we were going to pull up as an example, so you guys could take a look at that. So then in years 3 to 5, it's pretty much, continuation of that, but also the fact that you're going to be working with your new buildings. And I know you've already got your budget set up, but certainly there could be some amazing opportunities to have more energy efficient design of the buildings. Even though your one building is already existing, you're going to be renovating it for function. And as you do that, if there's an opportunity to add, foam insulation to the exterior walls and roof, to think about whether the windows are energy efficient glass, things like that, it would be just an amazing opportunity. And I just estimated that maybe you could get a 15% reduction in your usage, certainly from what you're doing now, which is terrible in the buildings that are currently in use. So Again, I think it might be better.
What's the last thing you just said?
That the current buildings, the police building and the justice court are high electric users. And also, they're using some fuel oil and propane for heat, which hopefully you can eliminate that and be all electric. And then if you're getting your electricity from 100% renewable source, yeah, so you can see how that all works in together. So now that you've seen this, it adds up to over 5 years a 46% reduction. Does it seem scary, or does it seem, 26% happens when you just sign up with an ESCO, that's 100% renewable. Half of it, boom, you've already done it.
No, I think it seems,
21%, not 26%.
So, oh, yeah, sorry, 22, okay, yep.
yeah, no, I think that, I think we can certainly get a long way towards getting this done.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can, and then the streetlights are probably gonna happen, it's not as much as I would like.
Yeah.
1%?
No, well,
10%?
it's 1% of your total, yeah. It's 30% of that particular, part of it, but.
It just does not seem like it's much.
I don't know.
It seems odd that it's only a such a small reduction going from regular sodium to LED.
Especially if it's such a focus on some of those points.
Yeah. I would have thought it would be higher.
I got that right out of NYSERDA, so I guess we could, try to understand why they felt that was the case. It's 30% of what you're spending on streetlights, but what you're spending on streetlights is, of the total that you use of electricity, it's like, I think it's 70,000 kilowatts and we use almost 400,000, so that's why we make a 30% reduction in the part of it.
Yeah, no, I'm just surprised that, a regular light to an LED light, you're only, reducing your CO2 emissions by 30%.
Maybe also, those LED lights last longer too.
They last, a lot more.
Can you go back to where?
But maybe the big
problems come
reduction,
from?
maybe the big reduction is already switching to green electricity.
So we'll get to that part too.
So you're making a big switch to green electricity
And
and.
that's half of the energy, the carbon savings, so this is 60% instead of 30%.
Yeah.
3.6% instead of 1.8%.
Chris, a fair amount of this is DPW. Do you see green options out there on the horizon that start to work for you? Are you kind of like seeing what's out there, then how this might be possible from your end?
Well, I know Tesla's working on a truck that'll haul
Heard that.
80,000 pounds for, 500 miles and be able to recharge in an hour. For our haul trucks, as the technology is now, no. I'll give you a scenario. 2011, 2012, International decided we're going to make Tier 4 engines. They're going to burn cleaner. Particular filters using urea. Well, they did that. Now, subsequent to that not working, the trucks went from 8 miles to a gallon to 2 miles to a gallon. The particular filters, yes, the smoke coming out of the stack is not as much, but you're putting twice as much out. The particular filter now has to be cleaned out. So now you have a bag of bio or diesel matter, whatever it is that you just can't throw out. So they're making it more efficient, but they haven't gotten there yet. Electric's great. They do a lot of stuff overseas with electric that would work, but it's just not. Not here yet. We're really behind the times when it comes to that. Or the diesel. You can make a diesel motor run amazingly efficient. Just get rid of the EPA telling you can't do this, and you can make it work. Personal opinion. That's what we've seen. And our cost has gone up. We have 3 new trucks, 30,000 miles that we put $90,000 in so far in repairs. We had one saying, they can't fix that. They can't figure out what's wrong. So they've morphed these things so fast, the technology hasn't kept up.
So with that in mind, I mean, yes, we know that there are companies out there working on
Yeah.
big trucks and buses and all kinds of
That's
stuff.
supposedly happening faster than
Yeah.
people think.
So again, I didn't really include that in this 5-year scenario, but what I did think was that if, as you replace vehicles, you go from old, 94, whatever, older vehicles to newer vehicles, that the fuel efficiency may be better. So I just,
You probably have an opportunity in the building department, because they were eventually gonna upgrade, they could upgrade to an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't impact them.
So your estimates there, Amanda, are not necessarily for going electric, they're really for just buying better,
that's pretty much what I had to base it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was only looking at a reduction of 250 gallons of diesel fuel out of,
so you're on gas savings.
so the gasoline, yeah, we were looking at more from the vehicles there, although also some chance for increased fuel efficiency just as you get to newer vehicles that should replace old ones. So I didn't, the EV procurement was hoping that there would be a way to every year buy an electric vehicle for some purpose.
Nice.
So that's what I put in there. Okay.
One a year for years 3 to 5.
That's right. So can we reduce
Seems
that?
ambitious. Then that's
So the other thing is, so that's reducing emissions, but what about the actual usage that we're doing? So in 2017, sorry, it's very touchy. Okay, in 2017, you actually used 531,131 kilowatt hours of electricity over all of your facilities and the streetlights, everything. So the idea was that you might be able to reduce that by having more efficient buildings by that much. That's a 22% reduction in the electricity usage. Again, you can see down there, that would be LEED quality building renovations with the insulated walls and roofs, low emission windows, even landscaping can help with some of your heat load. If you could get into geothermal heating and cooling when you're building a new building or considering a major renovation, that would be great. Rooftop and parking lot solar panels, another possibility. I know there's issues, and this I think can be another Jen Metzger thing. As the credits for solar have to do with tax credits, but you guys don't, you don't get tax credits. So what do municipalities and nonprofits do who don't have the ability to make use of that incentive and cut some of the costs? So that's something to think about in our state, because otherwise, how do we achieve this 100% renewable electricity? Reducing the propane, again, that was looking at where it's being used. It's mostly in the police and justice department buildings. So I didn't remove it entirely because there's places like at the Recycle Reuse Center and other places where I wasn't sure we'd have an option to actually replace propane with something else. Same thing with fuel oil, and some of that also has to do with DPW because some of it's kerosene or other things that you're using there with the vehicles and in the garage. The reduction in gasoline was strictly just reducing the amount that we said based on going to electric vehicles, and the diesel was just with the energy efficiency. So I just used those numbers and pulled them over here. So that's, and what does...
Marty, can you remind us, as part of our plan for the new police and court, what's our green plan for that? Or what has been priced into that estimate? Have we gone down that road at all, or not so much yet?
Where we are is we have a proposal from Alfondre for design and a proposal from Columbus for construction management. And what Matt and I have agreed is we wanted to get through tonight's process with SECRA and the bond resolution. Now we can turn our attention to discussing those two proposals. We've had them for a couple of weeks, so they've been sitting while we got through this.
Yeah.
And part of Alfondre's proposal is a heavy emphasis, as we know, on green technology. We're not sure we know whether the estimate of $4,650,000 from Colombo was contemplating the same level of green as Alfondre. So that's part of what we're going to be working on in the near future.
Exciting.
Great.
And then when you look at the green technology and you look at this, you say, oh, just do everything green. but there is a capital cost that's associated with getting greener. The greener you get, the more capital cost you have, and that becomes a consideration when you weigh the operating expense, the operating savings to the incremental debt service. That's a judgment that different people will come down a different place on. Some will say, I don't mind paying more for green. Others will say, well, I'm a taxpayer, I'd rather pay less in taxes.
I know you're going to need to have that discussion, and the community's certainly going to be having comments about it. You know what we heard last week at the vulnerability assessment, the climate change assessment. It's not like we really have a lot of choice here. If we don't do it, our grandchildren will be doing it. You know, it's like, yeah, so anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir.
So when we 4 years ago looked at building a new municipal center, police and offices in court, the architect actually designed a building where he was using solar and ground source, and the solar was powering the pumps for the ground source, water source, heat pumps. And that, at the time, the boards, both the village and the town, said it's too expensive. Well, that was overall, it wasn't just saying that one component. So it's difficult for me to say what 10 people will conclude, or 5 people will conclude in this case, for police and court.
So I can tell you that you will be hearing this on Facebook and in the newspapers and everywhere from concerned citizens, because I think the awareness is just getting more and more all the time. So this was one thing about how could you reduce energy costs. So one of the things, so what this takes into account for electricity is your actual cost you paid in 2017 using the rate of 13 cents per kilowatt hour through Central Hudson. And if you were to both reduce your amount and go to the CCA cost, and I don't know that in 2024 it'll still be 6.3 cents, but this is just a number that I have, you could save that much every year in 2024. And before that, you could start saving money now, even if you didn't reduce your electricity usage right away or significantly, just by going to the CCA. So that's one thing. If you were to reduce the amount of propane usage, you could save some money. Again, these costs for propane, fuel oil, gasoline, and diesel.
I know you're getting your fuel well.
You guys get it from the state on a state contract.
Oh, I see.
So you get a price that none of us can get at home. Yeah, that's right. And I just used what you actually paid in 2017. I don't know what else to do, so it won't be the same, but it's just a way to look at it. So.
But you used the estimates, Amanda, for 24 as the same as actual for 17?
For the cost, I did, not for the amounts.
So no escalation over.
Yeah, but if we, so that's, if the prices don't go up at all, that's how much we save. If they go up, we save even more. It's a conservative way to look at it. If the prices could go down, you never, then the savings will be great.
Good point. Unlikely that energy costs will go down.
Well, you know, there's some people that think that some of these brown fuels costs are going to drop, and I think they might too, because I think the petroleum industry wants to sell us every last drop they have, and they'll drop the price to try to do it. So maybe that's the case. Otherwise, you could say, well, if the demand's down, you know, I don't know. So there's just, it could go either way, and I could have done this one of those, you know, like it could be between here and there things, but I didn't want to spend $20 on these slides. All right. So here's where we are today is we're talking about these reduction targets. If you want to think about it some more, great. If you think what I showed you looks like, I mean, these are aspirational targets. Nobody's going to you know, I mean, they're targets. And what we would do is I would then put it into a document that's the climate action plan for you to adopt. And then we would review it on an annual basis because we have the tool that we use to create the inventory. We can get your bills every year and see what's happening for the different facilities, the different, you know, the fleet fuels, the tank fuels, everything, and just see how we're going. And then we can go back and say, okay, did the things happen the way we thought they might? What do we need to change? You know, it's a living document. It's an aspiration. If you want to go bolder, great, tell me where you want to put it. If you're scared of some of it and you want to pull back, tell me. Just, if you want to think about it and talk about it again at your next meeting, you can do that. Whatever you want to do.
I think there's probably two approaches, one of which you articulated and Neil about you set your the goal such that you really expect you're going to be able to overperform, or do you set your goal higher in the hopes that that motivates people to work harder towards your newer, higher aspirational goal? Just two different approaches.
Sure.
I'm nervous about saying that we're gonna, like, some of the things I think it's great, we're definitely gonna do some of them. Saying that we're gonna buy a new vehicle every year is a little, makes me nervous because we don't buy a new vehicle every year. We lease a lot of the police vehicles.
Can you
but-
lease them? It's a procurement policy, it doesn't have to say buy.
You know, but it's something I think we'll know a lot more in a year. Because I think in theory, the maintenance is supposed to be a lot less for the electric vehicles.
There's no oil, there's no transmission.
So I think that's why I think the chief was really receptive to this idea. And so we may see that there is a real savings with the electric vehicle in a year, and I think, we may reassess it, and it may be like, well, let's really do that. That maybe it makes sense to buy them and not even lease them. So, but right now, saying without having the experience of using the vehicle, I'm nervous about saying, yeah, that's our plan. But I think as long as that's in year 2 or 3 or 4, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like you said, you can reassess it.
Yeah, these are, like I said, they're targets. They're not commitments that you have to sign in blood in your firstborn child. It's not like that. They're targets. And again, you'd have to come up with what your policy, it's like procurement policy right now, you're going to buy one and see how it works. And then we're going to revisit it a year from now or after we've had it for so many months to reassess it. You can do that, and we can modify the plan accordingly. You might love it. You might think you need like 20 of them. I don't know.
We don't need more charging stations.
Well,
I think they said they're going to be able to use the one at the community center.
For the
Right here.
police car? What do they do, park it there over?
Yeah, he said in the short term, that works fine.
Good.
But, as the plans move forward, then of course they would put one up at
put one at the new place.
Yeah, that's, should be simple.
I guess in the county does a green fleet, and so we've been driving around the county's electric car, it's really, but it's relatively quick too to charge it in that charger. I've never done it before.
Well, there's different levels.
Yeah.
And so the level 2 is like you go 0 to full charge in maybe 5 hours. You could easily charge it overnight or during the level 3, which are the ones the thruway rest stops have. They can go from 0 to 130 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Does that shorten the battery life when you fast charge?
if you fast charge all the time, it could have some effect on the battery efficiency. Could. So, I know you guys are just.
I like the idea of, subject to some corrections, is like, let's get as close to what we think might be achievable.
Yeah.
Obviously, the year 1 piece is the most important because we're kind of agreeing to what we're gonna do this year.
Right.
And putting the out years, year 2 through 5, is kind of like aspirational, and the review next year will be like, now let's look at year 1 again. I would not want to be too far, I'd rather surprise on the upside, and not like come in below, so I'd like to hear, let's have Neil and others kind of like say, hey, make a few corrections here.
I think we want to get an estimate for, like, I don't want to commit to, like, we're going to replace all the lights in our buildings with, LED lights and smart thermostats. I mean, that could be, $15,000. We don't have that. We haven't budgeted for it, so, like, I think it's something to look into.
When we build a new building for police and court, it makes sense to consider having that in your specs so that you have it in there.
And as we move forward, but like, I don't want to put LED lights into rented trailers.
Sure, that doesn't make any sense at all.
So maybe we can make some changes to some of your recommendation to make it a little bit more realistic from the start. And I'm in favor of passing something and moving on something and setting these goals for ourselves. Gotta do
It's
it.
good to say.
And Neil, you pay attention to this daily, so you mentioned the cars, maybe we don't want.
Maybe it's 1 every 2 years or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something
Initially.
less aggressive
And then say, hey, you know what?
Well, I mean, I think a real reasonable policy is like, to investigate every time a car is bought,
Could it
do the math on it. Does it make sense? you know, does it make sense, like Chris said, they just don't exist. You know, and I think even 4 years ago, you wouldn't have gotten a police car, an electric police car.
Right.
You know, but then suddenly they're making,
Yeah, who
you know,
knows?
and in 3 years, they may come out with this, this heavy, truck. But I think we should look into it and take it and seriously investigate it. And every time a vehicle is bought, yes or no, and try to buy the one that does the job the best and makes sense for the environment, but also that we don't want to spend twice as much for a vehicle that may or may not work as well, just because it's green.
Same argument with building a building. You don't want to do it just because it's green, but otherwise might
But
not.
do the best we can.
balance it.
You know, it should always be in the equation for everything we do. You know, and I think that could be an official policy that it's investigated as a possibility every single time.
That would be great. I think that would be really.
With a longer term goal in mind, not just have the dollars make sense today, but have the dollars make sense over time.
Right.
Some kind of equation, some kind of input in that equation in these reductions as being part of the value we receive, not just the dollar savings.
Yeah, so, I mean, I like this, but, we were talking about the greenhouse gas reductions. These are our municipal
Right.
greenhouse gas
Right.
reductions. And I know it may seem like I'm bringing this up just because it's something that I'm in favor of, but, getting, when we looked at the entire town and villages greenhouse gas emissions, it's driven by transportation.
Exactly.
And so if we were to spend, $10,000 on, reducing propane in one of our buildings versus $10,000 on making it easier for people to reduce the amount of driving they do by having, better public transportation and better bikes and peds, which one has a bigger impact on total greenhouse gas reductions? I think that's something to try to think about.
Here, here.
You're right.
So it's selfish of us to spend all of the taxpayers' money and say,
Yes.
we're a green town building when our goal is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions for the whole community. And one way to do that is to balance out where our dollar makes the biggest impact.
So, right, I think the other thing to think about is, so when you look at climate smart communities, where we are is right now in the gathering information stage and the very beginning of the planning stage. And as we move through that and get into the implementation stage, by having done this very carefully and thoughtfully and adopting these plans and stuff, we set ourselves up better for getting grants and working, because we've shown that we're really doing this very thoughtfully and carefully and have a plan that we're trying to implement. I think having electric buses would be great. And I know the county's thinking about getting electric buses.
Yeah, I think it's in the programming to at one point one of the UCAT buses will be an electric bus over maybe the next time a bus is replaced. It's going to happen at some point.
Right.
So and I think that but I think getting more people to ride the bus
Yes.
is even better.
Yeah.
Right, so not just the electric bus, but making, buses more, a more viable transportation alternative for everyone.
Right.
And electric bikes.
Electric bikes,
And
yes.
things that people can shop and bike.
One of the comments, I think, from your last presentation was along the lines of what Neil was saying, transportation is our biggest area. And a big portion of that, as I recall, is tourists.
Well, certainly in our town, unlike, say, I don't know, pick one, Ellenville or something, we got a lot of people
That's
coming.
why
Yeah.
I'm focusing on it, because then when we take actions to advocate for tourism, which we just did tonight, supporting an application to the CFA, we then, I don't think are considering that there's an environmental impact to bringing more tourists here. And it's not just the number of more cars, but the fact that as there are more cars, there's more congestion. It takes longer for a car to move from the thruway to the river, and all that time they are polluting more and more. So we don't help ourselves unless we have a transportation solution. And
Yes.
nobody's come up with that. And it's aspirational, I think, to think that tourists are gonna come, park their car, get on a bus, go over to here and say, how do I get the rest of my trip? So they're gonna come through our town. And that's really where our pollution.
Yeah. If we were just dealing with them being in our town, if the tourist draw was this as opposed to on beyond, then it might be different. Yeah, because I've seen this in Alexandria. Nobody wants to try to drive around and find a place to park. You get on those little trolleys that they stop at every corner. They're all over the place. They're free. You know, it's great. But if people want to get to Gardner or they want to get to Mohawk or whatever, they're going to need to drive through. So it's true. We've got the main east-west corridor coming right through town. And so that's a real challenge. It absolutely is. Okay, so what am I hearing exactly here? Do you want to make some tweaks?
I would advocate for acquisition of vehicles to maybe take a little bit slower pace than
Not one a year?
Yeah, and I think we have to, I think we can't just say that we're going to do all of the lights and thermostats. Because we can't, we're not going to do lights in the trailers.
Well,
So
how long are you going to be in that trailer?
more than a year.
I know. How much more?
So
than
we
a
can't
year?
have that in year one.
All right.
Yep.
But
So that energy efficiency line, there's not that much to it, but it needs to come down to probably year 3 to 5. It's not happening this year, it's probably not happening next year.
wait.
You might save some energy next year, police and court.
Well, the police
Yeah.
report,
21,
yes,
excuse me.
yes, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the town office, trailers, with probably a couple more years there. Hopefully in 3 to 5, we're out.
That I understand, and that's built into the energy efficiency of the new buildings.
Yep.
So what if we put an asterisk by that one and say that we try to find out what it would actually cost? Because you're still gonna be in that building for 3 to 5 years and it's sucking up electricity like crazy.
But not the lights. It's the
It's
electric
the
heat and
insulation,
cooling.
yeah, that's the
Right,
insulation.
and
So you just buy the green electricity and
Yeah.
who cares?
Well,
I mean, it costs money still, but from a greenhouse point of view, if you have an inefficient system that's bleeding
At least it's
heat,
green,
but
yeah.
if you have electric heat, you buy it from a green source, then you have no emissions, right?
Right, it's exactly exactly.
Yeah, I
You're
can't
using
believe
this
that.
measurement.
The lights,
Smoke and mirrors.
the lights in our, when we did thermostats, it's just that we have 100 street lights and they use half the electricity of the,
That building's really big.
It is, but we're stuck with it. Like, we
Yeah, I know.
can't- Like, so I don't want to say that we're going to do this in year one when,
Okay.
we all know
All
we're
right,
not.
so that was a
So we
2%,
can't put it in there.
that was a 2% reduction, so I can take it out. Okay, so take that one out.
3 to 5.
Okay, take that one out, and then in year two, we're not committing to buying another vehicle.
I would
in
do
year
a
two.
car every 2 years.
Every
if
2 years.
Feels like that's more appropriate estimate. Yeah.
Okay.
Not every year.
Okay, and then we can revisit it once you
Yeah.
see. Okay, so I take out that part, and we make the cars every 2 years. What else?
Hit on the big ones.
Those are the big ones that we found.
Yeah, I mean, those are that's like I said, I'm worried about saying we're going to do something when we all,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to.
Right,
Okay,
that's just not-
then we'll take that
not-
out.
not
And,
true.
and you may find out when you get into the new buildings that 15% turns out to be something much bigger.
Yeah, and I think like everyone's interested in exploring the most efficient things in the new buildings, but we're not going to do things in some of the buildings now
Right.
when we know
Right.
we're.
Yeah, we have a lot of projects coming up to get better, so,
One thing you can think about doing is at least putting up like honeycomb blinds on the windows to cut the heat into the building and some, just little things that wouldn't cost very much.
Yeah.
People don't like working when the sun is during the day.
Yeah, but they also don't like being hot.
That's true.
So anyway, it's just a thought. All right, so I'll make those two changes. What, anything
And is
else?
there anything around policy, about like stating goals,
So-
and language that's using the right, language, commitment to considering those options
Just pass a resolution saying that that's the goal that we have.
as part of our emergency,
Yeah.
climate emergency?
Right. So what we're doing right now is, the targets and the reduction plan actions and priorities, so I think that's what we're talking about.
Great.
When I write this document, this report, it's gonna have all this in it, and then you'll get it, you can comment on it, you can decide, but you're gonna actually adopt it, you're gonna approve it, so it's gonna become a real thing. So that if you guys, for some reason, not all of you are here, in the future, it's still there, this happening, it's there, okay? And then we start implementing, so actually adoption takes place as soon as I can write that up, we can agree on it, and then the implementation starts. And then every year we'll come back and take a look.
Sounds good.
Uh,
Yeah, moving in business, so a lot of.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Irwin.